My name is Herman Eberhardt, and I'm the Supervisory Museum Curator at the Franklin Roosevelt Presidential Library and Museum. Like other museums around the nation, we're currently closed to the public because of the coronavirus pandemic. But we continue to provide a range of resources and programming on our website and through our Twitter, Facebook, and other social media outlets. Like the rest of the museum staff, I'm currently working remotely from my home. And today I'm very happy to be hosting the first in a series of programs revealing the stories behind some of the most significant artifacts in our collection. The museum collection includes over 34,000 objects, ranging from clothing, personal items, furniture, and art owned by Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt, to political memorabilia, New Deal art, and gifts given to FDR by foreign governments and ordinary Americans. Finally, there are the personal collections assembled by Mr. Roosevelt, most notably his extensive collection of paintings, drawings, manuscripts, ship models, and ephemera related to naval and maritime history. Today, I will be talking about an object I think is the most important in our entire collection, President Roosevelt's Oval Office desk. Here you see FDR seated at that historic desk in the Oval Office. This is the actual desk FDR used in the White House Oval Office throughout the 12 years of his presidency, not a replica desk like you'll see at many presidential libraries. Given its importance and popularity with our visitors, we display the desk, along with FDR's chair, inside a giant glass enclosure in a special room in our museum. The enclosure gives you an opportunity to get very close to the desk and examine the many personal items that FDR kept on it. Now, some of you may be thinking, that doesn't look like the Oval Office desk. And actually, many people, when they think of the Oval Office, have an image of a very different desk than this one. Most likely, they're thinking of this desk, the so-called Resolute Desk. The Resolute Desk has been at the White House since 1880, when it was given to President Rutherford B. Hayes by Great Britain's Queen Victoria. However, the Resolute Desk was never used in the Oval Office until President John F. Kennedy placed it there in 1961. Every president since Jimmy Carter, except for George H.W. Bush, has used the Resolute Desk in the Oval Office. And so, to most people, this is the one and only Oval Office desk. However, the actual history of Oval Office desks is a bit more complicated than that. The very first Oval Office desk is the one depicted in this early 20th century postcard. This desk was placed in the room when the Oval Office was created in 1909. Every president from William Howard Taft in 1909 to Herbert Hoover used this desk. Then in December 1929, during Mr. Hoover's presidency, a fire severely damaged the West Wing of the White House, including the Oval Office. The president's desk survived that fire, but when the West Wing was repaired in 1930, a new suite of furniture was installed inside the Oval Office. This furniture was a gift from the Grand Rapids, Michigan Furniture Manufacturers Association, and it included a new Oval Office desk, designed by J. Stuart Klingman and built by the Robert W. Irwin Company of Grand Rapids. This handsome desk was built entirely of American wood with a Michigan maple veneer. When President Hoover returned to the renovated Oval Office in April 1930, this was the desk that he used. Now, 2 years later, in 1932, Mr. Hoover was defeated in his bid for re-election by Franklin Roosevelt. And when FDR took office, he adopted the Oval Office desk and chair used by his predecessor. FDR continued to use this desk and chair throughout the 12 years he served as President of the United States. At this historic desk, he signed many of the most important laws of the New Deal, including the act creating the Tennessee Valley Authority. Here he also signed the declarations of war with Japan and Germany, the GI Bill, and other landmark legislation. The desk was also a place where FDR reviewed reports and memoranda and met with advisors, visiting groups, and national and world leaders. The president also conducted hundreds of press conferences at the desk. During his administration, press conferences were held regularly inside the Oval Office. Reporters would pack into the room, and the president would sit behind his desk and field questions. Here you see him with British Prime Minister Winston Churchill as they conduct a joint press conference in December 1941. As you can see, one of the reporters is even using the desk as he writes down his notes. Now, how is it that this desk and chair, used by two presidents in the Oval Office, ended up at the Roosevelt Library? It certainly isn't normal practice for historic furniture like this that is part of the White House collection to be given to other institutions. Well, when President Roosevelt died suddenly of a cerebral hemorrhage on April 12, 1945, his vice president, Harry Truman, became president. Truman, it seems, felt that the Oval Office desk and chair used by his famous predecessor should be given to Eleanor Roosevelt. And so shortly after FDR's death, he gave them to Mrs. Roosevelt, and she in turn donated both to the Roosevelt Library, where they were quickly put on public display. They have remained on exhibit here ever since. One thing visitors to our museum notice immediately when they encounter FDR's desk is the clutter of objects on it. This is historically accurate. For as you can see in this overhead view of the desk taken during World War II, the president kept it covered with objects ranging from the practical, a telephone, letter openers, and pens, to the humorous, including figurines of Democratic donkeys, Republican elephants, and other animals. Over the years, FDR added and subtracted items on the desk and shifted the position of others. After his death, the objects that remained were shipped to the Roosevelt Library with the desk. We've arranged the desk largely as it appeared the last time FDR sat at it in March 1945. Nearly all of the objects you see here are original pieces, though there are a few replicas of items we don't have in our collection. There are dozens of objects on the desk, but I only have time to talk about a few in this program. One item visible on the left is this leather portfolio. It contains photos of FDR's four sons, James, Elliot, Franklin Jr., and John. All four served in America's military during World War II, and like any parent of children serving in harm's way, the president wanted to keep photos of his sons close at hand. Many objects FDR kept on his desk reflect his whimsical side. There are ceramic pigs and roosters, small gadgets, and a number of figurines of Democratic donkeys and Republican elephants. In this example, the symbols of the two parties are chained together, perhaps as a way to get them to cooperate. The last desk item I have time for in this program is the leather appointments easel FDR kept on his desk. Every morning, his secretary would place a typed list of his daily appointments inside this easel. We have placed a reproduction of the calendar for March 29, 1945 in the easel. That was the very last day that President Roosevelt sat at this desk. I hope you've enjoyed this program about FDR's Oval Office desk. I'll be back again soon to talk about another important artifact from the museum collection. If you want to learn more about this desk and other objects on display in our museum, I encourage you to experience our virtual museum tour, available on our website.